Russia just invaded Ukraine out of the blue. Who knows how that happened? As I've mentioned before, there's a rift in the ruling elite right now in the United States. Uh, there are groups of the ruling elite even that do not want this proxy war to continue, that believe that essentially it has done any positive for the United States that could have been gained has been gained, and the stuff that the US has not gained, such as crushing Russia or causing regime change in Russia, is not going to happen anyway. So many of them in this group and the ruling elite are saying we got to get the fuck out of there and end this shit. And let the proxy war in Ukraine end. And so some of them actually came out with an ad, which Ben Norton, great journalist, displayed on his Twitter. He says a group of anti-war U.S. veterans, including a dozen former military officers ranked as high as general, published an ad in the New York Times calling to halt arms shipments to Ukraine and end the war with peace talks. They included this graphic of NATO military bases surrounding Russia. And obviously the point is, and they say, so here's the reality of NATO military bases near Russia. And obviously NATO is also trying to get into Ukraine, which is also on Russia's border. And they say, what if the shoe were on the other foot? What if Russian military bases were surrounding the United States? How would the U.S. respond? And I think many of you know what the answer would be. Probably be nuclear war. But at the minimum, the U.S. would be obliterating these bases and flipping the fuck out. Yet everyone acts like this isn't an issue. It was just, Russia just invaded Ukraine out of the blue. Who knows how that happened? But I wanted to show. So here's the actual advertisement in the paper. Isn't it funny? You see newspapers so rarely now that even a modern, like this newspaper came out a week ago. No, sorry, it came out yesterday. It came out 2 days ago. No, yesterday is not 2 days ago. Yesterday is actually 1 day ago. I'm working on that. But I'm working on figuring out what yesterday is. I've been studying very hard, and one of these days I'm going to learn what yesterday was. This came out yesterday, New York Times. Looks like it's from the 1600s, but came out yesterday. The U.S. should be a force for peace in the world, says the advertisement from top U.S. military brass. And then they also give the timeline of what led to this. This photo doesn't show all of it, but 1990, U.S. assures Russia that NATO will not expand towards its border. Quote, there would be no expansion of NATO 1 inch to the east, says U.S. Secretary of State James Baker. Of course, that was a lie. 1996, U.S. weapons manufacturers from committee to expand NATO, spending over $51 million on lobbying expenditures. 1999, NATO admits, meaning adds, Hungary, Poland, and Czech Republic to NATO. U.S. and NATO bomb Russia's ally, Serbia. 2001, U.S. unilaterally withdraws from the anti-ballistic missile treaty. 2004, 7 more Eastern European nations join NATO. NATO troops are now directly on Russia's border. 2004, Russia's parliament passes a resolution denouncing NATO's expansion. So they're showing the timeline that led to this proxy war, which basically shows that even if the U.S. wasn't directly responsible for it, it at least shows the U.S. knew where things were headed. Russia has said many times, this is a red line. Putting NATO weaponry and troops in Ukraine is a red line. And the U.S. ignored it because the truth is the U.S. wanted a proxy war. That's the deep, dark secret of this all. But this is pretty groundbreaking to have this ad in the New York Times because it shows a rift in the ruling elite, a major rift in the ruling elite that could ultimately result in peace in Ukraine soon, ending it soon. But let's hope. But also at the same time, I'm sure their reasons are not the best. I'm sure it's not like they understand that the U.S. empire needs to dwindle in order for the planet to have a shot at survival. But still, at least they're pointing in the right direction.